it brings correctness and universality and performance to Web3. Correctness in the sense that you can trust computations because they were correctly executed, the programs were correctly executed. Universality because you can use any programming languages and computing paradigms, same like on computers in Web 2. And performance because once you do things right and separate concerns, you can have amazing speed.
Hey, GM guys. Today I'm joined by Grigore Rosu, founder of Pi². Pi² delivers the most advanced verifiable settlement layer, basically uniting all languages, apps, and ecosystems with lightning fast proofs, consensus, and payments. This is BlockHunters Voices, the podcast for cool kids from the blockchain space. I am Joachim Vuji, your host. Grigore, it's been a minute. How are you, my friend?
Good. Thank you for having me, Joachim.
Where are you now? Are you in the States?
I'm in the States, yes. I'm in Champaign, Urbana-Champaign, close to Chicago, 2 hours south of Chicago on the university campus.
Nice. Grigore, I feel like in Web3 there are two categories of people. And I will split them in the people that were born in Web3, so basically the younger people, the younger generations, and people like me and you that actually had a life before Web3. So
Who
I
came
want to
to
see, I want to tell me what yours was your ride before Web3 and how did you end up falling down the crypto rabbit hole?
So a bit about myself. So I grew up in Romania, and that's where I did my undergrad studies at University of Bucharest. All that Olympiads, the math, everything was math or chess right back then. And I came to the United States in '96 for my PhD. I did my PhD at the University of California, and my specialty was correctness, always correctness of computing systems. How can we trust the machines that they do what they are supposed to do, what they promise to do? Then in 2000, I finished my PhD and I joined NASA as a research scientist. And I also worked on the same topic, how to make systems correct. In that case, navigation, space navigation software, how to make sure that your spacecraft gets where it's supposed to get, to put it that way. Then in 2002, I moved back to academia, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, which is, in my field, a very good school, which means you have very good students, which is what I wanted to grow a research lab here.
Yeah, I remember you said Sriram from Air was one of your students.
Shiram was not my student. He was a student in the department. Yes,
Okay.
our student, one of our students in the department, and many others actually, not only Shiram. Also Yulong Li, who is the founder of MegaETH, Anatoly Yakovenko, the founder of Solana, and many others. Philip Dayan, the founder of Flashbots. Yeah, so there are many Web3 folks from our university. Yes, in 2010, I started Runtime Verification, my first company, focused on correctness also, a software, but this time using professional teams and professional tools and professional everything beyond just academic enterprise. And in 2017, it's funny, I received a message from Charles Hoskinson, the founder of Cardano, who said, back then also founder of Ethereum, and he said, you can use your techniques to analyze and to do security auditing of smart contracts on the blockchain and protocols on the blockchain. Okay.
So basically, he introduced you to crypto?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Actually,
crazy.
Philip Dayan, to be honest, Philip Dayan, the founder of Flashbots, he was my student, and also he worked at Runtime Verification back then. And he said to me at some point, hey, this Bitcoin thing is quite interesting. You should look into it. You'll like it. And also Ethereum. But, I didn't take him seriously. And then I heard it from Charles Hoskinson, and then I said, okay, so this. First of all, I was curious, who is Charles Hoskinson? I checked him out. He was legit. Um, and then we became actually friends. I think he visited us at Urbana a couple of times. We had several, grants together, contracts, and that's how I got into Web3. Yeah, thanks to him, really. And then also Vitalik himself, Vitalik Buterin, he was very interested in us formally verifying his Casper protocol, which implemented as a smart contract. And and before I knew it, I was all hooked. And once I started looking into this field, I realized that it's like when you discover the smartphone. I don't know if you went through this experience, right? You use normal lens phone, and then you discover the smartphone, and initially you are reluctant to it. Say, I don't need yet another thing, But then you become so dependent on it. So you say, how could I live before without a smartphone? So I think that was my relationship, let's say, with Web3. Once I realized what it is and what it aims at, I said, how could people live before without this? How could we just keep all our assets into somebody else's custody when they are mine? That seems so basic a principle of freedom now.
You didn't even know that
Yeah, they
it
don't
could
even
be
know.
a possibility that you can
Exactly.
keep your funds at your custody.
You think that the money is yours, but no, it's banks. And if the well, I don't want to
Yeah. That's why the Romanians thought about this, and they put all their cash money under the mattress. They were the first that they knew.
I think that could also be one of the reasons why actually Eastern Europeans, are so good in Web3, because they grew up, with this fear, and now when they realize that actually that's the gate to freedom, you find new energy and new resources. So anyway, so that's how I got into Web3, through basically security auditing and formal verification of protocols and smart contracts. And initially it was just a technical challenge. So that's interesting. I can do this. I've been trained to do this. We can do it. And then it became like the new air that we breathe. We realized that, well, this is huge, and it should be done properly. Okay, and that's then once I started doing that, I don't think I've done anything else ever since. It's all into Web3 or related to Web3.
Are you still teaching?
I'm still teaching, yes. And I started teaching a blockchain course as well. I teach programming languages and blockchains, and I alternate them.
So from that point in time, how did the idea of Pi² come together, and how did you build up the team and everything?
So first of all, Pi² is very new. We founded it 1 year and a few months ago in 2024, the beginning of 2020, February 2024. It came from runtime verification, right? So it's a team of 20 engineers or so that we separated from runtime verification, and we built Pi². So basically, the idea has been cooking for a while. We had the idea of Pi². I think it started in 2020 when we realized that, whoops, things can be done differently and a lot better. And then it felt a bit too slow to continue to do them through runtime verification. So we decided to spin out a new company focused on just developing the next generation of Web3 infra from scratch, from basic principles, and do it right. And runtime verification had already its business model to do security auditing, formal verification tools for developers, which worked by itself. So why perturb it? So we decided to start a new company.
So basically, Pi² is the result of all your technical experience in Web3 accumulated, and you saw
all the misery, that we've seen in the Web3 field through security auditing lenses. And,
you see what problems you could actually solve.
And what problems actually you could avoid solving.
And for the folks out there that didn't heard about Pi², how would you explain to them and what exactly it solves even more? in the larger space of Web3?
So at a very, very high level, it brings correctness and universality and performance to Web3. Correctness in the sense that you can trust computations because they were correctly executed, the programs were correctly executed. Universality because you can use any programming languages and computing paradigms, same like on computers in Web 2. And performance because once you do things right and separate concerns, you can have amazing speed. Many times, low speed is a consequence of a bad design. But once you come up with the right design, then you realize that performance is not a bottleneck. So I think that's a very simplistic way to look at it.
Yeah, so let me see if I get this right. I'm a Sui developer, so basically I use Move as a programming language. But now P² is around, and I'm very bullish on Monad. And Monad is EVM, but I don't know. I don't know the language over there, so I already know Move. So I actually can build something on Monad because P² exists.
Okay, so that's a very broad question. And I will answer it as if we accomplished everything we want to accomplish in Pi², right? So it's not all yet there, but let's assume it will be there, right? So then you can write a smart contract in Move and another smart contract in EVM, okay, and deploy them on our network, which we call the FastSet network from Fast Settlement. Okay, so you can deploy it on our network or the Pi² network, and the two smart contracts can interact with each other. You can have clients send payments to one or another, so they can interoperate. No heavy complex interfaces that may introduce bugs themselves. And also, as a matter of fact, you can add Python and Java into the mix if you want, because the programming language doesn't matter really. It is actually, I think, a mistake that programming languages are hardwired in blockchains these days. It was just a bad design. Because let's step back a bit. Suppose that you go and buy a computer, right, a desktop computer. When you go and buy a computer, say, I want a computer which is fast, which is has this memory and so on. You don't go and say, hey, I want to buy a Python computer, or I want to buy a Java computer, right? That would be ridiculous. Everybody would laugh, as they should, right? So why should blockchains be? They are called world computers, right? But then they come with one hardwired language, and you are stuck with it, whether you like it or not, right? And updating the language is a big upgrade, error prone and massive endeavor, right? So blockchains should be, universal, any language. Yeah. And now that I said blockchain, I stopped for a while because, to be honest, we are now even criticizing, not criticizing, but challenging even the very basic idea of a blockchain. Okay, so crypto is here to stay. Blockchains, I'm not that sure about.
Yeah, especially because we had all this meta with L1s over L1s that launched and really died out because nobody uses them. So
yeah, that, but also, even from a scientific technological perspective, they are just slow. There is nothing you can do about their scalability. And that's a very well-known, scientific result in distributed systems. So blockchains implement a certain consensus protocol called strong consistency. And strong consistency means that all computers behave exactly the same way. That requires a lot of communication where things like, at every step, all computers have to shake hands and agree on everything, right? So that makes it inherently slow. And the sequential order, is reminiscent, is actually very well integrated with this philosophy of strong consistency. And that's just, unavoidably slow.
yeah, I always like to have like this kind of conversations because I feel decentralization is a little bit utopic and like a wet dream because the more decentralized you become, the more slow you become. So
Yes, and it should be actually it can be the other way around. The more nodes you add, the faster it can be. But for that, you need a horizontally scalable protocol, and you need definitely parallel concurrent settlement. Right? For example, let's take an example. Say voting. Voting is clearer. Payments also work, right, the same way. But let's take voting. Suppose that you and I vote, and we have to vote before a certain deadline, right? Does it matter if you vote before me or I vote before you? Really doesn't. The effect will be the same. We both increment the number of votes by 2, supposing that we vote for the same thing. So the order doesn't matter. On a blockchain, you enforce an order, right? So if there are a million people who vote, they will have to go in order, a million people in order, right? And some dictator, a sequencer, right, will choose the order, and that's it. It's like staying in line, right, to vote. But there's a limit of the real world, but uh, Web3 can be better than the real world, right? So an alternative approach, which is what we do with our protocol, is to simply vote at the same time in parallel, all of us. And the problem that the blockchain, kind of, philosophy would identify as a problem is that, well, what if on some validators you vote before me, on some other validators, the message is, get in a different order, and I vote before you. Now we have non-determinism. No, because in the end, it doesn't matter if we increment the counter first by you and then by me, or first by me or then by you. So in the end, the validators will reach the same state anyway. Okay, and that's what our protocol guarantees. You reach the same state, but you can execute things in any order. If certain properties hold, we call that weak independence. It's a technical concept, but that is preserved by lots of activities. More than 90% of the transactions on Ethereum are weakly independent, respect this weak independence property, which means that more than 90%, specifically 93% of all transactions on Ethereum do not need a blockchain.
Interesting. And you mentioned earlier the FastSet, and also that we don't need another blockchain. Can you walk us through a little bit about what is FastSet? What does it mean?
Right. So, first of all, I was very fascinated 5 years ago or so by a paper published by Matthew Boudet and several other of his colleagues back then at Facebook.
Yeah, I know him. We are very detailed on.
Oh,
Linear.
excellent. Right. So,
Yeah.
so the protocol was called FastPay. Okay, and they showed how you can design and implement a payment system like Bitcoin, but without a blockchain. Okay, and I thought that would be impossible because you have the double spending problem. What if you double spend? How can you know? How can you enforce no double spending? And what Bitcoin and all the blockchains do say, okay, let's force a total order, and it's either this first and then this, or this first and then this. No double spending. Period. Yay, nice, right? But they showed in this paper, FastPay, that there is another way to do it. Much nicer, much better. And initially I thought that it was incorrect, so I tried to find the problem in it. Right? But after a while I realized that, man, it's correct. The proofs were not at that level of rigor that we are used to in the academic setting. We want very rigorous proofs. So I redid all the proofs to make sure, mathematical proofs, that everything was perfectly correct. And then once I understood that, yes, everything was correct, it was like that aha moment, or wow, or eureka moment. I said, wow, so actually you don't need a blockchain for payments. Of course, we are stuck with Bitcoin because it was invented 10 years before that. But if this paper were written before Bitcoin, we may have a completely different Web3 infra, these days. So, and then the problem with that paper was that it was very specialized to payments, right? So can we generalize it? Can we make it work with anything, any computation, basically anything that is true, anything that is provably true? I want to be able to settle at the same speed that FastPay settles transactions. And that's what FastSet is. So we generally, you can go to our webpage /white paper and pi2.network white paper and see the paper. So it turns out that the idea is very powerful, and the core concept that makes it all work is this notion of, as I said, weak independence between claims. So you make a claim, I make a claim. Now these claims are weakly independent if and only if my claim going first does not affect your claim in any way, or your claim going first, being processed first, doesn't affect my claim. Okay,
So
then
everything basically is in parallel.
exactly.
It's
So
not in order.
Exactly. If this property holds, then everything can be done in parallel. For example, payments. Payments are weakly independent. So if I transfer Alice a token, you transfer Bob a token, the order in which this happens doesn't matter. Even if Alice and Bob are the same, if you transfer 2 tokens to Alice, I transfer 3 tokens to Alice, then it doesn't matter in which order these payments will be processed by anybody, validators in particular. Alice will get 5 more tokens, right? And you will have 2 less, I will have 3 less, right? So it's exactly the same final result. But temporarily, you may have different states, but who cares? What we care about is eventually what happens, right? Eventually, when things settle, everybody will have still the same state. So it's still deterministic. But you see, you can get determinism after many steps. What blockchains do, they enforce determinism after every single step, okay? Which is, of course, comes at a price.
So how would you call this? Because it's not a blockchain, it's basically
We call it a set.
A set.
Yes. Set. So it's a new category, new Web3 infra category, which is a set because it is a set, first of all, set of claims. They are completely independent, right? And settlement as well, right? So they are set once and for all. Okay, and our protocol in particular, we call it FastSet, and our network, we call it a FastSet network.
So what can I do on a set? I can do payments, right? So this could be...
You can do payments, you can do
this
voting.
Is excellent for stablecoins, voting. Can you
First of all, you can do everything that you can do on blockchains.
Everything, okay.
Because we can do blockchains on set. A blockchain on set is basically a contract. We don't call it smart because they are just contracts, not smart contracts, right? So, but it's a program that you put on set, and that program just sequentializes things. You send transactions to it, which are intents, some messages. You send messages to that one program in a parallel environment, and that says, okay, you go first, you go second, you come third, right? So it sequentializes the thing. And then once it gets, let's say, enough, 270 of them, they say, okay, now I'm going to execute this in a block, right? Because it's more efficient, right? So that's what a blockchain does. And this becomes a program. So you can do everything blockchains do. But if you do that, then you will not be efficient, right? On that particular program where you sequentialize, you cannot be as efficient as in a parallel, truly concurrent program. So what you have the option to, some programs to do them directly natively on FastSet without going through total order. For example, votes. We just discussed votes. Payments. Auctions. If you bid, I bid for an item, completely independent. And many, many others. If you look into the FastSet paper, we have a section at the end, examples and applications, which has 16 sections. So 16 different types of applications that actually do not require a blockchain. Tokens, NFTs, all these things that you transfer, they don't need blockchains for them.
I can see a very good use case. I'm not into gaming, just so I don't know, but I know games on blockchains didn't work on blockchain because you always had to click to do an action on the wallet. They were slow. The token economics were bad. So that's why nothing really kind of took off. But here it makes sense because you have the speed, right?
Exactly. You have the speed. So we demonstrated, so we have a prototype now that can do 130,000 claims per second. Think transactions per second, 130,000 TPS. Of course, it's an internal network, who I can argue that is not yet fully decentralized and so on, which is true. But if you look at the protocol, you realize that it doesn't matter that much. Actually, having more nodes is not going to slow down things because each claim, so the way the protocol works, each claim is broadcast to all the validators. Validators don't even talk to each other. Okay, they validate each of them independently and then send it back to you.
So let's take it like this. I like to compare things Eli 5 style because I'm not very technical guy. So there are right now two projects that are shilling the biggest TPS, the fastest monad and Mega 8 that are competing 10,000 TPS, and they actually say you're gonna have 140,000 TPS.
Theoretically, possibly. I have doubts about that. By the way, Mega East, we have a strong partnership with Mega East. They are very good friends. Ilong Lee was my student for many years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and we integrate with Mega East. So every single block generated by Mega East every 10 milliseconds becomes a claim that we validate, verify on Pi², get a proof of, and then they can finalize the block. They don't have to wait seven days, for the fraud window, because they get in 0.5 seconds, they get finality, at least, correctness of the block. Now they may decide for political reasons to not finalize right away, but technically they can finalize right away. So yes, but we can do all those in parallel, right? So we cannot keep up with 10 milliseconds, but we can do them in parallel. And what they get 0.5 seconds latency on their network for finality. So there's like nearly instant finality, essentially. And 20,000 TPS, that's, I think, what they demonstrated in practice so far. But I would say even 100,000 TPS, even 100,000 TPS, it's too little for even the current future, not even the near future, but the current future, because we'll have AI agents, all of us. And AI agents need to do micropayments, settlement, and they are so embarrassingly parallel, right? So if you have one agent, I have my agent, your agent does something, buys a book, for you somewhere. My agent, I don't know, buys me an air ticket, right, somewhere. Why should these two stay in line, right, in order to be pushed through a very narrow pipe, which is the sequence imposed by a blockchain, when they can do each of their actions completely in parallel? That's how they should be. Okay, so imagine a million agents wanting to do the same thing at the same time, right? That would take like 1 hour to sequence them on Mega ETH with 20,000 transactions per second. I don't know. I just guessed on our, probably it's more or less.
Where do you feel we are right now in the AI space? Because everything is moving so fast. Where do you think we're actually going to see, not the top, but a big explosion? Everybody using AI agents, centralized, decentralized, doesn't matter, but everybody. I use ChatGPT every day. I use it more than Google. But where do you see?
Me too. So I think there are two separate aspects. One is the AI itself, right? And there are not too many people who really understand the AI part, the models and how they work, learning, training, and all that, right? And there are the applications on top of them, right? So many people develop applications of AI. They say, well, we have an LLM there in a black box, and we don't understand how it works, but it works. Now they build things around, right? So I think this second part, right? The first part will also grow. The models become smarter and smarter, more and more, modularized, composable. So there are lots of, advances on that front. But I think what moves even faster is their integration in lots of other applications, including, with Web3, with blockchains. Well, I said blockchains, but again, think generically of blockchains at this point.
Even on WhatsApp, you have Meta AI right now. It's messaging app,
Right.
Everything is AI right now.
Right. So now the question is, why should you trust all these agents? And of course, not everything needs to be fully trusted if it's expensive, but at least we'd like to know. I'd like to live in a world where I know that everything the agent does is verifiable. Right? So if it does anything, I know it's settled somewhere and I can verify it, as opposed to having to trust Google or Meta, right? That I do the right thing for you, Yeah, I believe that you do the right thing for me. You are well intended, maybe, but
the thing is that they take your data and they sell your data afterwards. That's the thing.
Yeah, of
when
course.
you use them,
The new way
rather
of
than
stealing data from you. No.
yeah. I mean, that's the real use case I see for AI and crypto, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, why do you need AI and crypto? AI doesn't need
I
crypto."
think two reasons. First, payments, right? You need to do payments very fast and not through centralized hubs, right? Because the centralized hubs can always cut your, your funding, your money, your account, right? And second, for settlement, yeah, verifiable settlement. I would like whatever inference you did for me, I want it, stored somewhere, and I want to, to verify to make sure it's the right thing. And I think, yeah, both of these make a lot of sense in Web3, and both of these are not sustainable with blockchains. Need a better technology. Blockchains are just too slow. Even the fastest blockchains, again, let's be optimistic, not 20,000, let's say 100,000, 140,000, right? It's still limited. You can.
Yeah, but this looks like Web 4 or Web 5. I mean, it's something new. It's
I don't know. I don't think it's the performance, to be honest. I think Web3 is the philosophy, right? That assets belong to us. That's what's important. And our performance we kind of take for granted, and correctness we take for granted. There are issues on both fronts, but eventually this gets better and better and better. Now let's be optimistic. Suppose that the technology works as expected, right? It's perfect, instantaneous, correct, and everything. Then Web3 is the new way of being, right?
yeah, and we're still so early. I mean,
Sorry, right?
nobody uses Web3 daily. I mean, people are, and it's understandable because so many people are rugged in Web3. So,
Yes.
they associate that with scams and pumps and dumps and laundering money and so, or they say, I don't need something non-custodial, because I trust the bank, I can keep the money. I don't need to know 12 words mnemonic. Why do I need to do
Yes.
that?
Some of these are valid, concerns. Sometimes I'm concerned myself. What if I lose the private key? Okay. Yeah, but all this, when you have some for more fundamental infrastructure, and you can build the previous ones on top of it, right? So that's the thing, right? So that's in all technologies, right? So we keep what's good from the past, but rebuild it on the new infrastructure, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
So,
cars, electric cars, right?
yeah,
And so on.
exactly. But from your perspective, what's the biggest shift happening in crypto landscape right now?
The biggest shift happening where?
Yeah, in crypto right now.
So obviously the AI push, which is huge, and I think the real world assets as well. And again, I'm happy to reemphasize that none of these require a blockchain. Okay, so digital assets
They can be done on a set.
exactly can be done on set. Because on set, by the way, from a user perspective, a set is same like a blockchain. You have an account, you have a public key, a private key, you sign with a private key, you have assets, you send them around, you receive assets. Looks exactly the same. But what is different is that what happens under the hood. Same like in a car. You can have a gasoline car and then you get an electric car. You jump into an electric car and you drive it right away, right? Nothing new for you. Same
Yeah,
here.
I mean,
As a user, it will be the same, but the technology is completely different under the hood.
at the end of the day, the general public doesn't really need to know exactly, as you said, what's
Yeah,
under the
they don't
hood.
care.
They don't care because people use like Apple Pay daily or
Yeah,
credit cards, or
exactly.
nobody cares what's behind that and what works. They just care
Until
to be
exactly,
fast and safe.
exactly. They don't care until problems surface. But now having an infrastructure where you know that problems cannot surface either, you get all that benefit. You get a fast payment system. You get the connections to all institutions, credit cards, shops, online, offline, all of them. But at the same time, it will never be down, and nobody can stop you. Nobody can debank you. Right? Then you say, oops, wait a minute. Why should I go back to the land phone line once I got this?
Yeah, the only downside I see about everything, and I see it more and more on me, is the more you use technology and that the more it makes your life simpler, it kind of dumbs you in some ways. You are like dependent. I don't know something, as ChatGPT instantly. So it's weird, especially for people that you grew up. I'm 42, so I wasn't born in a smartphone area, so I know how it was before. It's weird,
Yeah, totally. But also, look in cars, things where our life depends on AI. They navigate. They can take you from city A to city B. Home X to home Y. And it's all automatic. Takes left, right, decides both the big steps and the small steps. Everything. Um, you know, it can actually literally kill us if it wants to, right? In a car, can get into an accident and you die. So that's
Or
why
you get hacked or something. The AI gets hacked, and
exactly. So that's why, yeah, so it gets hacked, yeah. So that's why I think imposing this verifiable settlement, as a way of being, same like we breathe. That's one one action, right? So same there, everything that happens should be settled. The only thing that stays in the way is performance, technological performance. But I think that improves fast, really fast, and we get to a point where it is easy and feasible to settle every single action that the AI takes from us for us, and it's all verifiable, saying yes, it is this model with your data. The model is public, you accept it, data is yours, it's kept private, right? So you can get proofs for all of this, and these proofs, actually interesting, it can be done by AI itself. You see, if an AI is smart enough to beat the best humans, or any possible game, and to drive cars for us, it can also generate a proof, why what they do is correct. And then all you need is the layer to settle things.
yeah, but how do you make the public understand those terms and everything that you're telling me? Even for me, some things are very hard to understand.
I
How
don't
do
think
you
I don't
make
think
the regular people trust an AI where they think that they're gonna take their jobs? And I mean, how do you make them trust a computer and actually tell them no, it's verifiable? How do you explain them to understand? How do you educate them?
so. First of all, people don't have to understand all this to use them, right? I don't understand how my car works, and I use it. You know, um, I don't understand how the phone works in all the details, and yet I use it, uh, right? So people, we can, they can be given good interfaces, user interfaces, good user experience, and people use it, and they already should have these concerns, right, with Facebook and Google and chat and maybe not Signal, but many other chat platforms. Why should I trust them, right? But at some point there is something that I think like a resistance threshold where because others, maybe experts, talk about it. Others say, hey, everything is encrypted, nobody can find that. And even my mother, maybe not my mother because she doesn't use these chat applications, but my family, they are not technical, they understand that, okay, if things are encrypted, then nobody can, I can send you my password or something, right? Because nobody can see it. All right, now you can push it to the next level. Say, hey, everything is going through the Web3 infra. That means immediately what can mean to people once educated, oh, okay, so that is mine, that diploma is mine, right? The university says, I will give you your diploma using the Web3 infra. I don't want to call it set or blockchain, or I'm trying to avoid a particular word here. But once you know that it goes through this new infra, it's like cryptography that encrypts things, and you understand why that is useful for you, even if you don't understand the actual technology. Same way, once you know that that asset is yours, that diploma, that PhD diploma or master degree is yours to have, and you can, do whatever you want with it. I think people understand that, people kind of understand it, but they take it for granted. They take it for
They
granted.
don't care. They don't care.
They don't care until there is, I think, a certain again, threshold of acceptance, right? So if certain businesses will say, well, we give you everything that the other guys do, but also this other thing, I say, okay, so then I pay only $1 more. I'll go with these guys, right? And then slowly things happen, right? So currently we don't care about lots of things, right? But our kids, actually, I see my kids, they care about things that I don't care about. I see, why do you care about that? But then, when I think about it, no, he's right, actually. I should
Makes
care
sense.
about that myself. Yeah. So people get
Uh,
educated.
Do you feel like we're gonna see encryption messaging apps like Signal or maybe even Telegram on Web3, something that really can take off?
I don't
Do you
know.
think we need that?
I would like to, for example, be able to recover, right, all my conversations. Any message that I send is mine. Our conversation now is ours, right? We should own it, nobody else, right? It's us expressing our thoughts, unless I give, consent for others to use it. Same with messages. If we text to each other, in principle, they are ours. They are our assets. They need to be stored somewhere, and they can be stored, of course, encrypted. And then we can, also settle the actual conversation itself, like the hash of the conversation. Right? So this happened. It's stored permanently, and provided that we can do this very efficiently, and space and time, are not limitations, then I think we should, right? Why not? Why not store? Because, when you can store everything, then not storing becomes an option. And you can always do it, right? Delete or, same like with anything else. You can burn your US dollars, right? If you want, nobody stops you. I think it's illegal, actually, but suppose it's not illegal. Right? You can burn your money if you want. Nobody stops you, right? So same with this. Once you have the capability, you can always not use it, but I'd like to have it. Yeah.
Yeah, we derailed a little bit, but that's the most fun part for me. So basically, for P² right now, the focus is on those fast sets. What's the go-to market? What's the plan for the next 6 to 12 months?
So 6 to 12 months, we'd like to launch our mainnet. I hope by next summer, 1 year from now, we'll be launched already, live and sound. Shorter term, we want to also, TGE, launch our token, and we want to launch our testnet actually in the next 2-3 months. And the testnet will be the first version, right? Will be super simple. It will be just a payment system, but connected with all the major L1s and L2s. Okay. And what we mean by connected, it means that there will be smart contracts on these L1s and L2s, and you can use those to bring your assets, right, on FastSet. For example, let's take USDC.
Basically, unified assets.
Unified assets, exactly. We call it OmniSet, by the way.
OmniSet. Okay.
Yeah, from omnipresence, but on set, right? Omnipresence of all your assets on set, right? So if, for example, you have, let's say, 1,000 USDC on Ethereum, 500 on Avalanche, and 200 on Solana. Okay, you can actually send all of them into your unified OmniSet FastSet account. Okay, now you see 1,000 plus 500 plus 1,700, right? You see in one account there. And at any point, if you want to withdraw, this is your money, and you can always withdraw them wherever available, right? You may withdraw them on Ethereum, all of them, for example. Say, I want to, well, and now effectively you got a bridge, but this is so much less than it is. It's not a bridge. I mean, you get bridge for free, right? But the important thing is now you got 1,700 USDC on FastSet, and you can use it, to pay agents, to pay, to do payments, right? You can send them to your mother, to her account, at the speed of light, right? So again, our goal is to get 1 million claims per second on the network. Okay.
Yeah, I always feel like payments and stable coins are the real true
Exactly.
narrative
So that's
of
why we
crypto.
want to start with this. We start with just the payment system, basically digital asset transfer system. I say payment because it's easier to explain.
Yeah, yeah,
But really, that's why I got into crypto. I got into crypto because I found it fascinating that you can have this peer-to-peer payment system, decentralized, verifiable, but it's slow.
yeah. And what's more interesting right now, as of 2 weeks old, you can buy stocks on chain. You can
Exactly.
be in Africa and Latin America. You don't
Exactly.
need a license.
Exactly. So that's why
Everyone in DeFi, everyone can participate within DeFi in TradFi. It's crazy.
it's how it should be. Okay. And that's why we focus first on just the digital asset transfer platform, right? So we want it to be the first digital asset transfer platform, the first payment system that delivers to the promise. Okay. It is as fast as it can be, basically the speed of light. Okay. No scalability issues, and at the same time connected. We don't want to live in a silo, right? It will be connected with the existing L1s and L2s. And this way you can bring the assets from everywhere and then use the network itself for transferring assets. And then we'll approach banks, real world asset institutions, BlackRock, NASDAQ, and so on, right? To deploy their digital assets on FastSet
Basically, a
instead of
treasury company.
Exactly. Instead of blockchains, because there are so many benefits. They can also do it on a blockchain, but then they will bring them anyway on this because you cannot be any faster than that, right? So we kind of identified the bottleneck, the performance bottleneck, and we removed that. And now we build a network, around this unleashed, concurrent, decentralized, verifiable engine. Okay, so now we cannot do better than that. So
I feel right now like all the institutions are investing a lot on Ethereum because Ethereum is the most secure chain and
right,
has the most TVL of stable coins right now, but it's slow as hell, and
yes,
things
yes,
are gonna change at some point in
yes.
time. But right now is the best option.
Yes. But so that's why I want to launch our network as soon as possible. Hopefully by even, I'm not, promising anything here, but I
Yeah,
would like to
I
be
don't want to ask timelines in an experimental. It's a dumb question. I don't want to put it
right, right.
because
But
it's experimental.
it's good for the vision though. So the
Yeah.
vision is to launch this network as soon as possible. Okay. And then, make it the payment system, the favorite payment system, right, of all applications around and AI in particular, right? And then grow from there. Then bring programming languages and bring all kind of proofs and everything. Because many crypto projects they think of devs first and foremost, but not of retail and big institutions. And I think we should think the other way around. I think we should bring retail first and big institutions, and then devs will come. And ironically, it is actually easier for us, technologically speaking, to add a new programming language, let's say Java, okay, to the network, meaning to allow people to write contracts in Java, programs in Java, and settle them, than to bring retail users.
Yeah, the other way around. I mean, the people trust institutions. If the institutions adopt fast sets, Web3, they
Yes,
will adopt too. But if you onboard devs that speak a language nobody understands, where do you get?
right, exactly. So that's why we chose deliberately to launch with just digital asset transfers. That's capability and connection with the different chains. Because now we can then in parallel work on BD, GTM, and at the same time bringing devs and programming languages. But that's a separate issue.
From a business perspective, what kind of revenue models will P² have in the future when everything is live and
It's a
it's
very
working?
actually it's a very simple business model. We want to bring as many claims as possible to be settled, right? And
So it's
let me
just commission fees.
exactly. So let's assume this. Let's assume this. In one way or another, there are many different ways to monetize this, right? But in one way or another, suppose that Pi² as a company makes, let's say, 1/100 per claim settled. Okay, so 10,000 claims for $1. Okay? If we get to the point where we can settle 1,000,000 claims per second, that is a revenue, higher than $3 billion per year.
Yeah, it's volume based.
Exactly. So our objective is to bring champions from different verticals. Let's say a vertical could be AI agents, right? So we're working with virtuals, we are working with Kite AI, discussing also with Sentient, right? To bring one important application, AI agent application, on set. We don't say on chain, on set. And then when people see the benefits being very cheap, dirt cheap payments at the speed of light. Okay, once they see that, then replicate. Okay, so we bring one, then replicate. We don't even have to do it ourselves. They will do it, right? Others, each devs, teams, founders, and so on. One vertical. Another vertical is layer 2s. We are working with MegaETH very closely, and the value prop for them is that we give you near instant finality. Right, because we verify all your blocks, no matter how fast we generate them, we verify them in parallel, give you a proof that they are correct. Right now, you can, eliminate the pain point, which is the seven-day window. Okay? Then layer ones bring, Ethereum, Solana, Multiverse X. We're also discussing with them, right? Bring them, meaning I told you that OmniSet thing, right? So once they are connected, it means that their liquidity is unlocked now to all the applications on FastSet. Okay, then retail, bring users, right, who can start doing transfers and so on. Like Visa does 40,000, 20,000, I think, on average, but they can go up to 60,000 TPS. But you get 20,000 here, 20,000 there, 50,000 there, and before we know it, hopefully we'll reach 1 million. And so that's our go-to market strategy. Okay, it may look to some who don't understand the technology, may look like lack of focus because you work with AI, you work with L1s, you work with L2s. What's all this? Pick one and do it. Yes, to pick one in each vertical because I want to bring one and replicate. So again, but the business model is very simple. 1 million claims per second. That's our goal.
You definitely had an interesting life. You definitely, as a teacher, I feel like you've changed a lot of people's lives. And I want to know who has been your most important mentor. And what's the one lesson that I gave you that still guides you today? Could be mentors, but somebody that actually shaped your life in the beginning to go in this direction.
So I do not have a business mentor yet.
No, not business. It doesn't need to be business.
But I have a scientific mind, let's say, soul mentor who was my PhD advisor. So when I came to the United States, he was very generous with me. So I learned from him generosity. So he helped me write a paper, my first journal paper. He actually rewrote the entire paper for me because my English was so broken and I was so proud of my main theorem, which was front and center. And the theorem, people believe it, but you have to sell the theorem, you have to sell research as well. And he said, this paper needs to be written completely to be accepted at the journal. And he wrote the whole paper for me. And I wanted him to be a co-author. And he said, no, this is your paper, your first paper, congratulations. But he spent days to write it for me. I found that so generous and unique. So that inspired me to be generous myself, I hope. So also another thing he taught me, and that, became an obsession after that, is to always go for the big fish. It's so easy to fly from flower to flower. This is interesting, let's do it. This is also interesting, let's do it. No, he said stop and look at the big picture. Pick the main thing, the big thing, laser focus, and do that one big thing. And I'm still struggling with that. I'm still tempted to do lots of things. I have my agenda. This is my little notebook where I write everything, my to-do list and everything I want to do and so on. And I would like to have only 3 items, per day. So you see now I have a whole list of things here. I cut several of them. There are a few left to be done. By the way, I didn't put this interview here because I knew that would happen anyway. I like to wake up in the morning. I have only 1 or 2 or 3 at most things, to know what to do. But I'm not at that level yet. I still have like 10 different things on my list, and then keep cutting them. Yeah, so I think that's.
I feel like you really lived the American dream, especially coming from a country from Eastern Europe.
Maybe it was the right time back then. Now I see many students coming now from Europe in particular, and for good reasons. They are not that excited about the United States anymore.
Yeah, United States changed a lot.
Exactly, changed a lot. Yes, exactly. So
I remember when I was a kid.
Probably I wouldn't come to the United States at this point anymore.
Yeah.
I go somewhere in Europe,
Do you have like any routines, habits, non-negotiables that keep you grounded and high performing because you know how it is working crypto?
Nothing really special. Nothing really special, but this is really important to me. If I don't have this, then sometimes I travel and I forget it. Very rarely. I usually don't forget it, right? I take it with me everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I have to, use some piece of paper in a hotel somewhere, but...
you don't do it digitally?
No. I try to use Trello. I try to use several, applications.
Yeah.
No. I don't need more buzzies, notifications in my phone.
Yeah.
I really like, and also I think when you write, this continuous flow, as you write,
it keeps
exactly. It has something in your brain. It has an effect in your brain as opposed to typing. I can type and think of something else. But when I write, I internalize what I write.
I did something like I didn't even write on a piece of paper like for years. Everything that I do, my to-do list, everything on my phone and my laptop. And for 2 months, I started journaling in the night and in the morning. Not could be like some mini to-do list there, but thoughts, gratefulness, stuff like that. So in the first, I didn't even know how to write anymore because I didn't write anymore on paper. And now after 2 months doing this constantly, it starts to make sense.
Yes.
It's hardwired in your brain rather than on your laptop every time.
Yeah, it makes you feel one with yourself, So now things are not just out of order. It's not just noise around that you have to take care of. No, it's all part of a plan, and keeps everything together. At least for me, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but this worked for me. This little notebook.
Yeah, I like that because everybody tries to sell you, you need to use Trello or Monday or Notion. Without that, guys, they didn't have Notion when they built pyramids. Wake the fuck up, Yeah. Grigore, I really respect your time. And now we are entering the last chapter of the podcast. And we want to wrap things up with some rapid fire questions.
Thank you.
So for those just top of the mind answers, favorite paper or book that changed the way you think?
So paper, the last several years, I read lots of papers, scientific papers. I'm talking about science here now. I was fascinated by the FastSet paper by Matthew Boudet and his co-authors. I think it's the best paper in the Web3 space in the last several years, better than the ZK proofs. And because it is so revolutionary, it came up with something that makes you think differently. And when I saw that, I said, wow, this is courage. This is, some people having balls here. And I really loved that. So I was in love with this paper, and I still am. And I think the FastSet builds on, as they say, on the shoulders of giants, right? So FastSet, I think, takes it to the next level where we can now settle everything. So, right, scientifically, I think...
But are you working in some way with him?
We are discussing. We met several times. We had the next space together. So so we have a Slack channel, always asking questions. When we get stuck. So we are. I hope we'll also integrate our Linera and and FastSet when the time comes. Right, and on the not technical world, I read mostly scientific books, but one book that is not scientific that had an influence on me was I think it was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So that book helped me organize myself. I didn't drop my notebook, actually, on the contrary, made it even more critical, but it helped me understand the difference between important and urgent, short-term, long-term, right? So when you start categorizing things, you see them differently, and that helps you plan. Doesn't help you think better, but you think better when things are structured and you know exactly why you are doing what you are doing.
Where do you feel we are in the market right now? Start of the bull run, end of the bull run? Do you even care about this kind of stuff?
Well, I do care about that stuff because, I have a company and you need to raise funding and so on. Investors are more generous in bull markets. So we planned to raise our Series A towards the end of this year. So that aligns with my belief that the bull run will last at least until, next year. So I hope we are at the beginning of the bull run.
Hopefully. Top 3 crypto apps that you actually use?
Crypto apps?
Yeah.
What I use? Okay, I use
Yeah.
Fox Finance. I really like Fox Finance. I use also Banky on Avalanche, right? So Fox
Okay.
Finance is Algorand, Avalanche, and others. And I don't use Ethereum anymore because they are too slow.
Yeah, nobody uses it.
Yeah, and I use Coinbase. I use Coinbase because I
Yeah.
have to, right? That's the
Yeah.
entry to the real world. I would like to to ditch Coinbase, but I don't have an alternative, right?
Advice to founders that want to build on P², that want to enter the rabbit hole of crypto or anything?
Advice to founders who want to build on Pi².
Yes.
Okay, so technical advice: think parallel, unlearn the blockchain thinking, which is inherently sequential, and relearn concurrency, relearn nature. Nature is concurrent. When you look at a tree, all the leaves move in the wind at the same time, concurrently, not one after another. No one stops the others, right? So that's how we should think programming as well, right? So think concurrent. That's on the technical side. On the business side, I don't know. I think if anybody asks me, should I start a company? My first answer would be no, because it's a lot of pain that you have no idea, when you start, what a pain that is. To be responsible for a team, to bring funding, to try things out, to pivot, yes, exactly, investors, convincing them, unconvincing them. So it's a pain, right? So if you can avoid starting a company, you should, right? But if you really feel this entrepreneurial drive and you really, really want to do it, I would say have a clear definition of your product. I know I'm saying the obvious, right? But many, especially bright people, they are driven by technology. They fall in love with some technology, some algorithm, some protocol. Maybe they published it as part of their thesis at the university. Say, oh, now I have to build a company around that, right? It's that very rarely is the answer. The technology is very rarely the answer. The answer is the product market fit. Make sure you understand exactly where you are and what you offer, what's your value prop, and start with that, and sell it even before you have it. I know it sounds weird, but you can actually.
Before you wrap this up, Grigore, where can people follow your work and start building P²?
Very easy. Just search for my name, Grigore Rosu. You'll find me very quickly. I'm a public person. You'll find my companies as well. But Pi².network, Pi and 2, the digit 2.network, is the website of our Pi² company, and there you can find links to documentation, to the blog post where you can learn more. The developer, if you want to try our DevNet, our testnet, So that's a place to go. Contact me anywhere on Twitter, Telegram. You can find me. It's very easy to find me.
Grigore, thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a blast.
Thank you, Akim. This was great. Great interview. I loved
Have a
it.
great one.
You too.